So you have an irregularly low engagement rate or an irregularly high bounce rate. Those are almost the same thing. The definitions can vary a little bit. Sometimes if you use the defaults, they're literally the opposite of one another. A low engagement rate like 10% is the same thing as a 90% bounce rate if you've left the definitions the same out of the default, the engagement definitions in GA4. Now that can mean a couple things. One, it can mean you actually just have poor traffic quality that you're sending here, or you're sending the traffic quality is fine, but your messaging's bad, or you have a technical issue on the site. That can happen in those scenarios, and that means that you have an actual issue that deserves investigation, not a tracking problem. Sometimes you have tracking issues. Sometimes these things can show up when you're missing a page view, like the code isn't implemented on all pages. So on the first page, the code's implemented. On the second page, the tracking code isn't implemented. And so when the visitor goes to the second page, they don't send data to Google, and if they don't continue to the third page or a subsequent page, then it looks like they're a bounce or a really low engagement. So that's one way that this can happen, is you don't have code placed evenly everywhere. Another way that you can have irregularly low engagement rates is if you haven't thought about customizing the definition. And in fact, here's one of the best secrets to analytics tracking in order to get insights. Your traffic types don't all come with the same intent. You know that as a marketer. If you show somebody a banner ad on the side of a news website, somebody clicking on that banner ad is much, much different in intent than somebody who searches your brand name in Google and then clicks on an organic branded search. So their engagement threshold is a little bit different. What you would consider to be successfully engaged for a branded search visitor is very different than what you would consider to be successfully engaged from a display ad on the side of a news site. So what's really wise to do is to create a couple definitions of engagement. Things like landed on page and spent 5 seconds, landed on page and scrolled, landed on page and consumed, video content, landed on page and saw second page, landed on page, saw second page, and saw intent-based content like the pricing page. If you can create a couple of those engagement stages, now you can imagine looking at a report where you see visitors that come from the different channels, and the conversion rates between those engagement stages change depending on the channel and depending on the visitor's engagement type. So when you're comparing a display ad to a display ad's performance, you don't want to be using the same measure that you use to compare a branded search compared to another branded search, or a branded search landing page 1 versus landing page 2. Those display ads, your threshold for engagement is going to be much sooner. You should be paying way less for the traffic. And as a result, you're hoping to get engagement. You're probably not getting conversion right away. Hopefully, you're just getting them to consume an idea or two that you have to share. So that's one of the best secrets in all of analytics, is to get good engagement stage definitions so that you can measure your traffic confidently against its based on its intent and its purpose. So some of those things you can't do in the GA4 interface. You can do it when you collect the data, and you can do it through BigQuery, and you can do it through Looker Studio. You just can't get the things set up in the GA4 interface. If you want some ideas about that, or you want to see some example reports, or you want to talk about getting that in place for you, this is the sort of stuff that we obsess over and love thinking about this, and love turning those insights into actions and turning those actions into profitability. Don't hesitate to reach out. Give us a call. We love this sort of stuff.